By the way, we're also following just a little further down Pennsylvania in the Capitol, the eventual vote by the end of this week to make Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson the next Associate Justice on the Supreme Court. 3 Republicans have already indicated that they're going to support her, including Mitt Romney and Lisa Murkowski, and of course Susan Collins of the state of Maine. But my next guest, the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, is not among them. Senator Chuck Grassley joining us right now. Senator, you announced you'd be a no vote on Judge Jackson. What was the deciding factor for you?
I think the deciding factor is that she would take advantage of holes that Congress leaves in law, tending to legislate from the bench, whereas it's Congress's responsibility to pass laws. It seems to me that she is not following original intent of the Constitution writers. That's very important to me. Relatively soft on crime. And another example, a specific example, would be her interpretation of the First Step Act of retroactivity in that Criminal Justice Reform Act that I wrote, that in turn she used to reduce sentences. She was overturned by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals on that, just to give you some examples of where I'm coming from.
Were you surprised Mitt Romney switched and he did not vote for her to go on the appellate court, but did for the Supreme Court?
Well, that's very odd because, you know, in the case of Bork, in the case of some other people that are on the Supreme Court now, a lot of times they would get on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals almost unanimously, but they wouldn't get on the court, or if they got on the court, there was just a lot of changed votes against them. And this is kind of the opposite. When he voted against her to be on the D.C. Circuit and do it, no, I'm not surprised. Mitt Romney is a very independent person. You have to respect that independence of any individual senator and not question why they're doing it. I have great confidence in Mitt Romney. I disagree with him on some policy issues, but he's a very good senator.
Senator, you're running for re-election, and we have this big White House event to celebrate the Affordable Care Act. Your opponent who's running against you, Abby Fickenhauer, has pointed out again and again that you tried to dump the Affordable Care Act no fewer than a dozen times. You've not held that back, and you've argued that you thought it was a mistake, and 12 times you've argued that. Is this issue a worrisome one for you back in Iowa?
Not anymore. It's I did vote, as you indicated. I voted, and I did it because we ran the 2016 election on that. We didn't deliver on that promise just because of one vote in the United States Senate.
That was John McCain. Right.
Yeah, you're right. So we live with Obama being the law of the land now. We're going to try to improve it as we can, but I don't see it as an issue because we aren't running on a platform of repeal anymore. We're running on a platform of improving health care delivery in the United States. Like, for instance, I fought with this administration to get 65,000 Iowans continued for another year on their relatively cheap transition program. Or I'm fighting through the Grassley Wyden bill to get prescription drug prices down, which would save the taxpayers $95 billion and the consumers $72 billion, is just one example. Health care always comes up at my town meetings in the state of Iowa, and and we're going to have to deal with it, whether we're in the minority or the majority. And I hope in 2 years we'll be in the majority, and if people are interested in continuing the majority as Republicans, go to grassleyworks.com.
All right. Well, it could happen as soon as November, right? I mean, it might, the Senate might flip. Are you concerned that it might not be that soon, that you'd have to wait for another 2 years?
Well, if the president opposed what we were doing to improve and he vetoed it, I doubt if we to improve Obamacare, and he vetoed it, I presume that we would have to we'd have to override a veto, and maybe couldn't do that. Then it would be 2 more years.
All right. I just wanted to be clear on that. You know, Senator, also, you had been looking at this whole Hunter Biden situation. You had said $5 million went from the people in China to Hunter Biden. You went on to say that this produced, quote, blackmail opportunities for China. When you were referring to blackmail opportunities, were you saying blackmail opportunities for China regarding President Biden?
Well, it's just a concerning question that I think is legitimate, based on the fact that Hunter Biden and James Biden have been in business relationships with Chinese business people who are active in the Communist Party, and in turn have relationships with the military in China, and China being a competition for the United States, both economically and militarily. I think it's something that's legitimate to raise. Do I have any direct involvement or any direct evidence of involvement of the President of the United States? Or absolutely not. But when there's people with a Biden name, and it looks like they have close relationships with people that are national security interests of the United States, I think it's a legitimate question to bring up.
You know, there's been a very big push, if I could switch to energy, Senator, maybe to tap ethanol as an alternative to traditional gasoline. That's a big part of your economy, and the corn growers in that state would probably welcome that. But there's some resistance from the White House, but not nearly as much as expanding domestic oil production. So where are you on this? How close is this to happening, that ethanol could become an energy resource again in this country?
Oh, well, it's already a very important resource already. At least 10% of the gasoline used in the United States have ethanol mixed with it for the benefit of cleaning up the environment. It's a very environmental positive product. We can do a lot more through ethanol. Our plants aren't running at full scale. This administration, if they want to get down the price of gasoline, just move us from 10% of the ethanol in gasoline being mandated to not mandating it at 15%, but give every opportunity to use 15% year-round, because now it can't be used during June, July, August till September the 15th. We've heard some evidence that this president is thinking about, through his own actions, maybe making E15, ethanol 15% of a gallon of gasoline to be sold during the summer. That would be a very positive move. One thing that ethanol needs is certainty. This government up and down, both in the Obama-Trump administration, now continuing a little bit in this administration, brings uncertainty to it. What we need is certainty. This will reduce the cost of fuel for your car and clean up the environment at the same time, create good jobs in rural America, and it also helps the farmers with the price of corn.
Senator Chuck Grassley, great catching up with you. Be well, be safe.
Thank you.
All right, Senator Chuck Grassley on all of